Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to some more Edenbrawl. I'm XP and today we're gonna take a look at Support Jan Itor, go deep in details. We're gonna go over the abilities, we're gonna go over the builds for items, the builds for augments, and the general playstyle, just so if you're new to the game or you don't know much about Support Jan Itor, you should be able after this video to just jump into a game and know what you're doing. So let's try to do that. Okay, first we're gonna go over the abilities. First, Jan Itor is a support character with melee attacks, which means his attacks don't go very far. They go quite some distance. I'd say like his shadow is about like what he can hit. If I go over here and here I don't hit anymore, but he has melee attacks with a decent range. But if you go over here, you can see in his melee attack, there's a part of the description that I had never read before like a few days ago, and it reads like this: when allies take damage near Jan, they gain dirty stacks. Jan can auto attack or sweep these allies to clean them, healing them for a percentage of their max health. And that's a big deal because that's a lot of healing, and that's something I did not know and did not utilize. And you really have to, if you're playing Jan Itor, you have to utilize the dirty stacks. One of his other healing sources is his right click, which just throws a little healing device, heals for 22 baseline without any augments or items, and it heals in an AoE. If your team is clumped up, you can easily get 2 or 3 people in there, so it's pretty good, and you can absolutely heal yourself with it, which I cannot show you right now because I don't have any health to gain, but yeah. You can absolutely heal yourself, and you do have 2 charges, which is great. Spacebar is a dash. If you hit enemies, they will be pushed back, and if these enemies collide with a wall, they will be stunned. So that's great displacement, but also possibly great crowd control, which is awesome if the enemy team has the ball and you want to disrupt the carrying and maybe make them drop the ball. Awesome. Now his Q allows him to jump to an ally. When he does, he will put a shield on the ally, and also he will put dirty stacks on them, like 3, which is the maximum. He will put just the maximum 3 dirty stacks on them, which he can then heal with an auto attack or by sweeping with his spacebar. So that's one of the ways, that's I would say probably one of the main ways he can put their dirty stacks on someone. The other way to put dirty stacks on someone is to be close to them while they take damage. So if you're just passively close to your ally and they take damage, you can just keep healing them by auto-attacking them instead of auto-attacking the enemy to deal damage, which is really funny and a mechanic I really like, but just didn't know was like Jan Itor's thing before, and I was really missing a big piece of Jan Itor's identity. So with the Q, you dash, you put a shield on your ally, they gain dirty stacks, and you can heal them with your sweep or with your auto attacks. A note, you can absolutely use Q on yourself to gain a shield, but I don't think you have any way of healing yourself for the dirty stacks, so just keep that in mind. The E is an AoE, a targeted AoE in an area that makes a toilet fall from the sky, and when it does, it will disorient enemies in the area and also deal a good chunk of damage to them. And finally, last but not least, Support Jan Itor's ultimate ability is a targeted skill shot. It's a ray that will heal allies and damage enemies, and it's channeled for a few seconds, so it goes like this, and you can switch, but you cannot move while it goes. So that's it for the abilities. So if I can just show you auto attacks, right click, spacebar, Q on yourself, and the E, and I just showed you the ultimate ability. So these are Support Jan's abilities. Okay, so now that we've had a look at his abilities, let's check the augments for Support Jan. Augments, for those who don't know, are little tweaks that you put on your abilities, just making them a bit more to your taste, or just adapting to the situation if you need something more. So let's take a look at his pool of augments. At level 1 and 9, you will have this pool. The first augment in the pool is Double Up, so when used on an ally, Touch Up will also grant Jan a shield. I really like that. It increases your self-sustainability, which is very good for a support that has to be in the thick of battle, because Jan is a support, but he is a melee character, so he has to be in the thick of it, which Double Up will help with. Next we have Polish. Jan also heals the target upon arrival with Touch Up. It can be good, and if you need the extra healing, that's definitely something you can consider, but when you use Touch Up, which is your Q, you already put 3 dirty stacks on your ally, and when you do so, you can simply heal them with your auto attacks, cleaning the dirty stacks, and that will give them already a big chunk of HP. So I don't think you really need the Polish. Touch Up is already a very good healing ability, but if you need the extra healing, it might be able to go a long way. Then we have Dasher. Jan now collides with enemies during Touch Up, pushing them aside and dealing minor damage. On his way is what the rest of this line says. So that can be good. This being said, I think this is a bit situational. It will get some values probably if you see you get cut off from your team a lot, and you have your team on one side, you on the other, and between you have members of the enemy team. So in these situations, you will get some values from Dasher, but it gives you some kind of offensive abilities on an ability that I really see as defensive and targeted more to helping your allies. So the mentality of Dasher just doesn't fit in my mind with what you would want to use Touch Up for, but maybe if you have those situations, that can be a good choice. Alright, then we have Touch and Go. Jan no longer shields allies on arrival with Touch Up, instead now cleansing and granting them 20% movement speed, which is basically telling you, you don't need the shielding. If you don't need the shielding, but the enemy team has a lot of crowd control, or you really need just to move much more than you do now, take this. I see this as very situational, but I can see situations where Touch and Go would be a very good item to take. As I said, if you have a team on the opposite side that's very crowd control heavy, Touch and Go might be what you want to take to let your team catch up to them and be like, if they have a lot of stun, disorienting, a lot of roots, etc. Touch and Go might be just what you need to make the enemy team's strategy just completely crumble on itself and collapse. So it might be good, but I think Touch and Go is very situational. Refresh. If Jan heals no one with Scrub Down, the cooldown recharge is reduced by 75%. Now, I'm a bit torn with Refresh. On one hand, I know that I miss a lot of I miss a lot of Scrub Down, which is his right mouse button. I miss a lot because the nature of a brawler is to move around and try to dodge abilities constantly, and that means that your healer will also miss you a lot. So as a healer playing Jan Itor, I miss a lot because my teammates are just trying to move and dodge all the time, and that includes my abilities, unfortunately. So I see the value of it, but I don't like augments that give value from missing. I'd much rather get value from hitting my skill shots and everything. And so I'm a bit torn. Of course, if you are a newer player to Jan Itor or to the game in general, refresh might be one of your best options because you will miss a lot, and having a reduced cooldown will mean that you can just toss out more healing, and just when you hit, that will get you some good healing, and when you don't, well, you can quickly just come back on your feet and try again. So for a newer player, or for when you have a team that's filled with people who are constantly moving, refresh can definitely give you a lot of value. I just don't like this mentality of telling you, well, if you miss, it will be way less punishing. Like, I'd much rather get a good advantage from hitting than being less punished for missing. But that's just my opinion. I think you can definitely get some good value from refresh. Then scrubbing bubbles. Scrub down now has 3 charges, but the cooldown is increased by 3 seconds. I don't like very much. I think it's not really worth having an extra charge means you can get more burst healing, but yeah, I don't think having burst healing is very impactful in this game because you have a maximum recoverable health. For those who don't know, if you take a bunch of damage, I think if you take more than 20% of your maximum health as damage, you cannot recover all of your health. You can only recover like 20% of your maximum health, I believe. So if you take 50% health, when you can only go back to 70%, which means having a big burst of healing will only go to waste a lot of times because you will get to the maximum recoverable health and then you'll be stuck there and you cannot just burst more because you're at the maximum you can get. So I don't think scrubbing bubbles is really well designed the way the game works now. Excitement. Jan gains movement speed for every enemy hit by Toilet Surprise. I think that can be great, especially if you're planning on playing Jan as a tanky support. I think that's great because you can grab the ball and get into the thick of battle with the ball, and when people will target you, you can just throw your E and maybe catch a few people if possible in the disorienting, which will not only give you some time because they will be disoriented, but you can also then go fast, and those who didn't get hit and are not disoriented will have a hard time catching up to you. So that's great. I would recommend Excitement. It seems like a very good option for what Jan Itor is supposed to do. Genghis Khan is a general augment, so I'm not gonna take too much time on it. I don't think it's a great option anyway. Now, next pool of augment for level 3 and 11. First, we have Friendly Fire. Allies hit by Toilet Surprise gain max 30 stacks. I think it's great. That's just another way that you can put 30 stacks on your allies, which means it's another way that you can heal them. I wouldn't use the Toilet Surprise, your E ability, to heal allies specifically. I just use it like if there's a bunch of people clumped up, you throw it there and you hit the enemies, you hit your allies, and now it gives something to your allies. So I wouldn't really change how I use the E just because I have Friendly Fire, but I think it's a great option. Council's Coven is a general augment, which I won't take too much time on. It can be a decent option though, but I won't take too much time on it. And Grime, allies can now have up to 4 dirty stacks. It's great. I would recommend taking, I think I would recommend taking Grime and then at level 11 taking Friendly Fire then. But I think you can switch those two up and you can take Council's Coven, but I think you won't get as much value from it. At level 5, only Soul Reaper, so you take that, and it's a general augment, so nothing to talk about much here. And then you have your ultimate augments, which start with Extended. Jan's Hyper Clean gains an additional 50% range, which can be good, but not as good as Portable. Jan can now move slowly while channeling Hyper Clean, but can move. That's the key word, can now move. Because in this game, in this brawler style, moving is just so important. It allows you to dodge abilities. You should be constantly moving, and having a channel ability, it's impactful, but if you cannot move, that takes away a lot of things. You're much more easy to hit, and you will probably get deleted if you have a coordinated team on the other side. So having portable is just great. So I would recommend taking portable, and then at level 15, if you get there, taking extended. Then distraction artist is a general augment which can bring some value, but I don't think that's really what you want to go for. So if we just take a look at what I would take as a full build for augments, at level 1 I would go for double up, then I would go for Grime at level 3, Soul Reaper, portable. Then coming back to the first pool at level 9, I would go for excitement most likely, but I think you can get some good value from refresh if you're a newer player or just new in general to support Jan. Touch and go and dasher are some good options in certain situations, so that's to your judgment. Level 11, I would take friendly fire. Then placeholder 3, unfortunately that's the only option we have left at level 13, and at level 15 I would go for extended. So that's about what I would take for support Jan's augments. Now let's go on to the items. So for items, I recently learned that power does not affect healing, which means I have to go back on my support Vexa's video and change my build there, definitely. But knowing that, here's the items I would definitely recommend. So with support Jan, two things are going to be great. One, anything that can make you tankier, because as I said, you're a melee character, which means you're gonna have to be in the thick of battle. So you want to be tanky a little bit at least. And two, you're gonna want items that give you cooldown reduction, because you don't need like power to deal damage. You don't need to have a lifesteal, because you don't need it. You have a lot of self-sustainability by yourself. What you really want is cooldown reduction. So tankiness and cooldown reductions are going to be the two main focus of any good Jan Itor builds, support Jan at the very least. And here is what I would recommend. I would start off strong with Immolation. Why? Because the 30 health is just the max you can get from any item. That's going to be just a boost immediate to your health and will make just a big impact. And you also get the active, which is just a fun bonus basically at this point, that will let you deal damage when you are surrounded by enemies, which you will probably be at some point, because once again you're melee, and that's where you're going to get the most value from support Jan. So I would go for Immolation. Then Cleanse Force is going to provide a lot of things. First, it's going to provide a plus 20 health bonus, which is the second highest you can get after like Immolation, which you already have. And two, it's going to give you a cooldown reduction bonus. So you kind of hit two birds with one stone there. You get exactly what you need. And you also get the added bonus of having the active, which lets you cleanse yourself from a crowd control effect, which can be great, especially for a support character, because if there's a big AoE stun and there's a big ability coming like a gravity well from Vexa or whatever, you might want to be able to cleanse yourself and toss out some heals before that big ability hits. So Cleanse Force, I believe, would be my second choice. What takes the second slot for items in a build for Jan Itor. Then at this time, when you get to your third item, I would probably go for either Detonate or Empower Force. I think I would go for Detonate, just because even though the cooldown reduction is a little bit lesser, it does give you more power, which is going to be good. And the damaging passive of the two are similar. I think Detonate you will still get more value out of, even if the cooldown reduction is a bit lower. And for your last item slot, there's a couple of options. I don't really have one favorite, but all of these will provide some kind of tankiness. The question is, what do you really need in that moment? And I don't think there's one that's inherently better than the other at this point. But a couple of options. Thorns for the 20 health, the defense, and the passive would be a good option. Vigor, a bit of the same thing. Fortify, I think I would take Vigor over Fortify, but I think both can be pretty decent options. And last but not least, Veil, which might be my favorite because it does give you health and cooldown reduction. So once again, 2 birds, 1 stone. But I'm just not sure there's a passive effect that works right now. Yeah, I think that passive is just a relic of the old item. I don't think it works like that right now, so I'm not sure how much value we will get from Veil. And if there is a functioning passive on Veil, I think that's definitely what I would go for. So let's just put that there. For now, I just don't know if the passive works or if it's just a relic of the past. But here you have it. These are the 4 items I would go for, probably in a build for Support Jan. First, Immolation for sure. Then Cleanse Force, Detonate. These 2 might switch, but I think that's the first thing I would take is Cleanse Force. Then Detonate, and finally Veil. Maybe switch for Thorns or Vigor or Fortify. These are the 4 items I would probably still recommend taking. So there you have it. Now we're gonna jump into a game with some bots and see how to play Jan in general. Okay, so we have a game going with a couple of bots. We'll just show a little bit what you should be doing as Jan, just focusing more on showing you what you should do than really fighting. But you should always be tossing your right clicks, so just supporting as much as you can. If you can, go here, give some shields, and then clean the dirty stacks. Now, you don't need to care about this, but yeah, always toss out your heals, and if there's a dirty stack on your allies, just clean it as much as you can. Clean it all the time. You also have some good disruption with your displacements and your crowd control, so keep that in mind. Of course, I think as they are more AoE crowd control, your stun and your toilet surprise are always better used on multiple enemies, but they can also work fine on just one target, and you should not hesitate to use them if it will save an ally's life, you know. So that's what I think you should always be doing anyway. If you can save an ally, you should probably do it here. Just gonna disorient a bunch of people at once. There we go. Just tossing out some heals. Keep tossing out some heals. If you can, just clean the dirty stacks. Clean the dirty stacks. Keep doing that. And that's just passive healing that you get pretty much for free. So, without saying Support Jan is a heal bot, he does get a massive amount of healing just by being near his allies and just auto-attacking. So you should be doing that at all time. And since there's no mana in this game, tossing out your heals costs pretty much nothing else than the cooldown they will get. So if you have the opportunity to heal someone, do it. Do it. Like, there's very rare occasions where you should keep your heals for later, because they're on a very short cooldown. You have 2 charges and they're free. They don't cost any kind of mana or other resources in game. So that's about it for how to play Support Jan. I hope you enjoyed, and while the enemy Jan Itor is running after my team, I will let this video end here. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think of Support Jan and what I can improve if you are a veteran of Support Jan. And on that, I'll see you in a future video.